Hey everybody, Josh Peck here. Hope you're doing well. Um, so I have a story and then like a news report I want to talk about, but also I want to kind of wrap that in uh, prophecy. We've been talking about birth pangs a lot the past few days, and I think some of the stuff that we're seeing in America right now could be birth pangs of something that's going to happen in the tribulation. I want to make clear what I'm not saying. So we're going to be talking a little bit about Revelation 17 and 18, about what's commonly called Mystery Babylon, though there is a comma in there. Um, uh, that's something happening during the tribulation. I do believe that that is a literal rebuilt Babylon. Some people have made good cases for Rome, possibly. But as of right now, and again, I have to. There's some good theories about it, but as of right now, I'm of the understanding that this is a literal rebuilt Babylon that will happen, that will be around during the tribulation. So what I'm not saying, because I'm going to make some comparisons, what I'm not saying is that Mystery Babylon is America or Mystery Babylon is New York City or any American city. I'm not saying that. I understand some people believe that. I personally don't. Um, but I am going to make some comparisons because I think we're seeing some birth pangs happening that are sort of like foreshadows of what's going to happen during the tribulation. Like smaller versions, that's what a birth pang is. We talked about this yesterday with the earthquakes and stuff, that it's not that the earthquakes we're seeing now are fulfillments of Revelation prophecies that are supposed to happen in the tribulation. It's that they're birth pangs of it. Like it's like when a woman's about to give birth, the contractions get more and more intense until the time of the birth, and so symbolically the birth would be the return of Jesus, which we're looking forward to. But before then, um, it seems like we have these like shadows of prophecy of end times prophecies, like tribulation prophecies. And I think things that we're seeing around the country, but like New York's a great example. I think that we could use that as like an example of what people can expect in the tribulation in terms of what's commonly called Mystery Babylon. And I keep saying like commonly called because it's not, the title isn't Mystery Babylon, it's Mystery, comma, Babylon the Great. So let's start with the Bible and learn about like what Bible prophecy says about Mystery Babylon during the tribulation, and then let's look at a story about a common trend we've been seeing lately, and see if you guys think that we're seeing some birth pangs here. Let's see if I can make that case for you. So, starting in Revelation 17, it says, one of the seven angels who had the seven bowls came and talked with me, saying, Come, I will show you the judgment of the great harlot who sits on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, comma, Babylon the Great, comma, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement. One of the things that I want to make special note here is the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs. So this is a place where there's clearly a lot of murder of godly people, of good people. And think about our own country and what's been happening lately. How Charlie Kirk was martyred, and there are people in the country that absolutely celebrate it and make fun of it and mock it. I mean, this wouldn't have happened 10 years ago, and yet here we are in that short amount of time. And so, and as we'll see, people on the right, and I'm not saying everybody on the right are Christians or that they're martyrs or any, but there is an objective good and evil, right? And there are people that align more with objective good, and there are people that align more with objective evil. And I wouldn't say everybody on the right is a Christian, by default or anything. I don't mix that kind of stuff like that. But at the same time, if somebody's like a conservative, they're more in line with biblical values. They're more in line with what God has taught as truth, as those who are on the left, which is totally antithetical to God. So again, we're not, this isn't like a literal fulfillment yet, because this will be literally fulfilled in the tribulation. But I think we're seeing shadows of it. And I want to play something about just how much like death threats and things have been going on. So I want to play the short clip, and I'll talk about it. These ads. Okay, here we go.
With reaction, White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller. It's heartbreaking because we've been friends for a long time. I'm friends with you. I'm friends with your wife. I'm friends with you. Your 3 kids are, precious to me. And you have had to deal with severe threats against your life. How do you react to that poll?
The Democrat Party has become dangerously, violently radicalized. And you're right, Sean. I get death threats every day. My wife gets death threats every day. We've obviously had to deal with pretty extensive doxing campaigns. But the truth is, Sean, that people across the country, across the government, across law enforcement, who are fighting for safety, security, prosperity, are dealing with radical left communist threats and attacks all day long. And President Trump, of course, came within centimeters of being assassinated.
1 millimeter.
During the middle of his rally on live television by a wicked, evil assassin, and then only weeks later, a second assassin. If not for a Secret Service agent spotting the barrel of that gun, would have taken President Trump's life.
So just real quick, and remember too, it says in Bible prophecy that in the last days, because of unlawlessness, or because of lawlessness, excuse me, because of lawlessness, the love of many will wax cold. And look at all the corruption we've been seeing in our country, especially lately. A lot of this is coming to light, yet nothing's being done about it, because there's lawlessness. We all can see the corruption. We all can see the lies. We can see the crimes, but nothing is really being done about it. And because lawlessness is allowed to grow, the love of many waxes cold. And that's exactly what we're seeing. It's like it's a universal truth. It's like when you see the breakdown of the rule of law, the love of many grows cold. Like people start hating each other and wanting each other dead. And that's exactly what's being talked about here. And I think that this kind of thing is just going to continue the more that this is allowed. Let's see what else.
By the hand of God himself. We are dealing with a party that is so extreme that considers its opponents to be its mortal enemies, that dehumanizes its opposition, that justifies violent attacks against federal law enforcement, assaults against ICE and Border Patrol, that sides over and over again with criminal aliens and MS-13 gangbangers. Look at how they venerated and worshipped and praised the MS-13 child smuggler that they dubbed the Maryland Dad, somebody who beat his wife and smuggled children and was a member of a terrorist organization, and they held him up as their hero. This is a dangerous party. This is a dangerous movement.
See again, what the lawlessness. And we're seeing it in our own country, and it says in the last days it's going to be like that. And the lack of love is just insane. And yeah, you do, and of course, not everybody on the right's perfect, but you do see it more and more violently. I mean, it's just unquestionable. You see that from what's called the left. Really, it's people that are siding with evil. It's people that are siding against God. We call it the left. We call it Democrats. Whatever you want to call it. There's good, there's evil. And And some people decide to align with evil. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people in the country that have done that. A lot of people that are running the country that are supposed to be our representatives. You know, we're not, they're supposed to work for us. We don't work for them, but that's not how it works because, schools have stopped teaching kids that. So when they grow up and get into politics, they think that they're our overlords. And many citizens don't know that either because they're not taught that in schools anymore. That you don't know these so-called leaders, they're not really leaders. You're the leader. They're supposed to be working for you. They're supposed to be getting stuff done that you want to get done, that you vote in. And that's how our country's supposed to run. But it doesn't. So because this lawlessness is allowed to continue, love has just gone out the window, and America is becoming more and more dangerous. But again, think of it as a birth pang for what's going to be happening in, again, what's called Mystery Babylon, because, again, it says here, I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. So now this isn't just, people aligning with evil, people aligning with good. This is literal, like, ends of the spectrum, people that are absolutely sided with Satan and people that are absolutely devoted to Jesus. That's what's happening in the tribulation. Here in America, we do have some people that aren't Christians, but they are, conservatives, and they're fighting for, good things in America. That does happen, but during the time of the tribulation, there's not going to be middle ground like that. It's going to be either or. It's either you're with Satan, or you're either against Jesus, or you're for Jesus. That's all it is. And more and more and more, we're seeing our country and our cities going that way. Like New York City is a good example of this with the election of Mamdani, which is still shocking and insane. But if this is a birth pang fulfillment of, and again, it's like a foreshadowing of, it's like an example of something that's going to be later, then it makes sense because here's Revelation 18, where it talks about the fall of Babylon the Great, but we get some more descriptions of what this Babylon is actually like. So it says, after these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. If I was reading this and if I thought that this was describing a city today, I would think New York City. Now, again, I'm not saying that this is describing New York City. There are some Christians that believe that. I personally don't. I think this is a literal Babylon in the future. But when you think about, foreshadowing, when you think about birth pangs, what is the equivalent that we have today of this? I think New York City is one of the closest. There's other cities that are like this would totally fulfill as well. But here in America, I mean, it's a great description for it. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues." There's a lot of people fleeing New York right now. And again, this is not a direct, literal fulfillment of that, but it's a type, it's a shadow, I think. There's a lot of people that are fleeing New York because they know, and again, it's not because they're Christians or because they're, it's, maybe a few of them, but it's just, many of them can foresee what's about to happen. It's, all of these ridiculous socialist policies that Mamdani wants to enact, it's going to absolutely ruin the city, and everybody knows it. Well, not everybody, but the ones that are choosing to flee do know that. So it's almost like we're seeing a shadow of a fulfillment. Now here in prophecy, in the tribulation, people will literally hear a voice of this angel saying, like, come out of here, come out of her, my people. So there will be people that are leaving because they want to side with Jesus, and they know Jesus is going to return soon, and they know that this city is going to be destroyed. so I think that we're seeing a type of like shadow fulfillment of that in our own country, and I'm sure there's cities all over the world where this is happening too. It's not like it's New York's the only one, um, but I think I think that's like a shadow fulfillment. That might be a good description for it. A birth pain. For her sins have reached to heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Render to her just as she rendered to you, and repay her double according to her works in the cup which she has mixed. Mix double for her. In the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow. For she says in her heart, I sit as a queen and am no widow. I will not see sorrow. I mean, just think about the prideful statement there, and think about the attitude of people who support the stuff going on in New York right now. It's of the same kind of mind. Therefore, her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judges her. Now, again, I don't think. I mean, I don't know what God's going to do with New York City. If I had to guess, just over the next few months, years, whatever, it's just going to degrade more and more and more, and just be completely unlivable. Some say it's basically like that now, but I think that's probably most likely how it's all going to go down. Whereas here, you know, in this Mystery Babylon, it's like utterly destroyed by God, listen to this. The kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived luxuriously with her will weep and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come. The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, for no one buys their merchandise anymore. Merchandise of gold and silver, precious stones and pearls, fine linen and purples, silk and scarlet, every kind of citron wood, every kind of object of ivory, every kind of object of most precious wood, bronze, iron, and marble, and cinnamon and incense, fragrant oil and frankincense, wine and oil, fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, and bodies and souls of men. That souls of men is really interesting. There's almost like a spiritual slavery or something there. But the fruit that your soul longed for has gone from you, and all the things which are rich and splendid have gone from you, and you shall find them no more at all. You know, a lot of the extremely wealthy people in New York, many of them are leaving now, because the only way that like the only way that Mamdani can even pretend to fund all the things that he wants to do is to tax the wealthy, but they'll just leave. There's ways around that. So the merchants of these things who became rich by her will stand at a distance for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour such great riches came to nothing. Every shipmaster who travels by ship, sailors, and as many as trade on the seas, stood at a distance and cried out when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What is like this great city? So I believe that, like, you know, symbolically, just like as a foreshadowing thing, we're at the beginning of that with New York City and probably other cities around the world. And then it just goes on about their wailing and everything, and but again, this will literally be fulfilled in the tribulation. But we're seeing we're seeing echoes of it right now. See, was there anything else in this video that was worth?
And what you're seeing in New York City with Mamdani, that is the future. A party that believes in no bail, a party that believes in no jail, a party that believes in no borders. But here's
lawlessness.
What they do want to put in jail. They're political enemies. Like good commies, they will not arrest the criminals. They won't arrest the gang members, but they will arrest their political opposition. That's how society dies, Sean. That's what we're up against now.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, and so I think that makes the point. So the story is that there was this woman, progressive-backed candidate, convicted in man's killing, wins city council election. There have been a lot of mayoral elections, things like that, recently with a lot of surprising results. Most notably Mamdani, but this kind of stuff is going on. So this is an insane story. A Maine woman who previously served time as a convicted killer, and again, think about the prophecy about lawlessness. Previously served time as a convicted killer, was elected to serve on a local city council Tuesday night, causing a stir on social media in the process. Angela Walker was elected to the Bangor City Council, the New York Post reported, more than 20 years after pleading guilty to manslaughter in the death of a man named Derek Rogers in 2002. Why isn't she still in jail? The manslaughter conviction stemmed from a fight where Walker was allegedly called a racial slur derogatory toward Native Americans, and the man who said it, a Canadian tourist named Derek Rogers, was later found beaten to death and suffocated with sand, according to news reports. Now, for one thing, I want to make note of something. It says allegedly. We don't know if he even said anything. How many hoaxes have been done in recent times, like the past 10 years or so, 15 years? How many hoaxes of some racial injustice, especially to try to either grift people or to as a defense for some kind of crime, like in this. And the thing is, even if this is true, I don't know if it is or not. Who knows? But even if this was true, even if somebody called her a bad word, you don't get to end somebody's life over that. You know, what has happened to society? This is what happened when lawlessness abounds. People hate each other so much that if you just say the wrong thing, the other person thinks they're justified in taking your life for that. Isn't that insane? I can't put myself there. I can't imagine that. I was raised, you don't throw the first punch. You know, if somebody's saying something to you, you don't put your hands on them because they're just words, sticks and stones, right? They're just words. Let them spout off. Now, if they touch you, then absolutely defend yourself. You know, do what you got to do. But that's how I was raised. That's how everybody that in my community, that's how their kids were raised. Not all of them, abided to that, because we had bullies and stuff too that just ignored that. But that was generally the idea. And we don't see that anymore. So she only did 10 years in prison for this, and most likely they took it easy on her. Again, lawlessness. They took it easy on her because of this racial narrative. And it's not an excuse. You don't get to kill somebody. You don't even get to hit somebody if they call you a naughty name, a naughty word. It is just ridiculous. Like what people have come to. Like, words can't really hurt you like that. You don't get to end somebody's life. It's part of it's like, yeah, it's not good. We shouldn't be insulting people, but if somebody insults you, ignore them. Just walk away. That's all you got to do. If it's online, block them, delete them. That's all you got to do. You don't ever have to think of them again. They're not your responsibility. So Walker ultimately pleaded guilty to manslaughter along with her brother and perjury, earning a sentence of only 10 years. This only, I'm adding that, but this just says 10 years in prison, but only 10 years in prison for that. That should have been, honestly, that should have been a death sentence. If you take the life of somebody else, you forfeit your own life. And somebody calling somebody a name is not justification. Here's a picture. I don't know if she dresses like that all the time. She's kind of dressed in a witch's costume. I don't know if that's a Halloween costume or if that's just how she dresses. Who knows? You can never really be sure anymore. But it says, although Walker was sponsored by a progressive group, she's not affiliated with a political party. I'm sure, maybe not officially, but you know how these games are played, and will serve a 3-year term along with 3 others who were elected to the council. News of Walker's election quickly spread on social media, with popular conservative influencer account Libs of TikTok sharing it with her 4.5 million followers. Quote, meet Angela Walker. She was just elected to Bangor, Maine City Council. She was previously convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years for killing a tourist, allegedly because he called her a racist name. He was found severely beaten and suffocated with sand stuffed down his throat. Oh my gosh, just the brutality of that. Just the brutality of that. It's insane. And Oh, somebody said, yeah, the J. Jones stuff. If you haven't heard of that, look that up. You'll be appalled. He was literally calling for the murder of his political opponents' children so that they would change their views on guns, on gun rights. And he got elected. They elected him. So Dylan Law Group associate Jesse Franklin Murdoch posted on X, quote, "Unfortunately, J. Jones is not the floor. There's a genuine bloodlust on the left, and voters are all too happy to let it out in the ballot box." Yeah, when those texts came out of everything that he said, it didn't hurt him one bit. Nobody cared. They didn't care. They voted for it. They cheered it on. The world's going insane. It's not just America. The world's going insane. You know, we see it here because we live here. But I mean, even just in America, this would have been he would have been kicked out of the race if this was 10 years ago. And not that everything was perfect 10 years ago. I think that's around when things really started to get bad. But like, can you imagine this in the 90s, like 80s? New progressive paradigm. The more mentally ill, the more popular. Graben founder Tom Elliott posted on X. What's going on? Democrats simply don't care what their politicians do. Conservative influencer Paul A. Zolpa posted on X. Walker told the Bangor Daily News, "I want people to see that it's possible that we can change. That's my past. I don't live there anymore. I'm a different person." See, that's not enough to convince us of anything. There's no apology, no remorse, no repentance. Now, it would be one thing if somebody had a bad past, they went to jail, whatever, they got out, they became a Christian, started serving God, that might be a little bit more believable. But when it's just, oh, that's just my past, and she's not taking any responsibility for it, she's not really talking about it, that's not repentance. So I don't think, it doesn't sound, at least from this article, I don't know her, but it doesn't sound like she has too big of a problem with what she did. Democrats have been facing heavy criticism for electing Jay Jones as Virginia's next attorney general, even after it was revealed he fantasized in 2022 text messages about shooting former Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert in the head, while also suggesting that harm should come to that Republican's young fascist children. It's just sickening. It's sickening. It's sickening. And our supposed leaders, specifically on the left, are pushing for this. They're pushing more of this. They're cheering it on. They're fomenting it. They're giving people an excuse to behave and act this way. But we know what happens. Eventually, all this stuff, all of it's going to fall. Just like Babylon will, all this stuff's eventually going to fall. And if we have to wait till the return of Jesus for that, then we wait. We're here to occupy, spread the gospel, make Christians, make disciples of all nations as best as we possibly can. And that means actually discipling, not just getting somebody saved and then never talking to them again. You got to, help them find a good church, teach them what good teaching is, what the Bible actually teaches. But we need to be doing that. That's really the only solution to this stuff. There is no political solution to this. I mean, yes, we do need to vote. We need to get, at least the best that we can into positions of power, even though it should be positions of servitude because they're supposed to be serving us. But we need to elect people like that. So, I mean, there is a place for politics, but ultimately politics isn't going to solve this. What's going to solve this is moving of the Holy Spirit. So we need to be, we need to be taking the Great Commission seriously, getting out there, getting people saved, and all the rest will work itself out. You don't need to teach somebody to become a conservative. You need to teach somebody to become a Christian, and then all the rest will follow. They'll naturally just become more conservative because it's more in line with what the Bible teaches. All right. But of course, I want to know what you think about all this. What do you think about this comparison? What do you think about the Mystery Babylon thing? Do you think this is a good comparison? Do you think I'm way off base? Whatever you think, I would love to know what you have to say about it. Leave me a comment in the comments. Make sure you subscribe. And also check out all of the links that we have right here. We have a little banner there with some links, and you can find all those links in the description below. So yeah. Also, yeah, the shadow banning stuff I talked about, that's still going on. So make sure you subscribe, click the bell to turn on all notifications. And the best way to actually fight against the shadow banning and the censorship that's going on in this channel and other channels, and the best way is to just go to dailyrenegade.com and get a membership there. Because there we're not censored and we are free. So, all right. Love you all. Take care. God bless.